Why does the black man serve the white man? Why does everything the black man do benefit the white man? Why does the black man say freedom is doing what I want to do? And why is it that everything he wants to do enriches the European?
Welcome to the desert of the real.
The Knicks are down. Last chance, Greg Anthony, no one to go to. He comes not to praise the Pacers, but to be buried by them. Miller loves it. The Pacers and Reggie score 8 points in 18, and the Pacers pull out an amazing performance. Forget the Knicks and Royals at the Cleveland Arena in '69. This one was better, unless you were from New York, where the Mets, Rangers, and Knicks all coughed up big leagues in a span of 22 hours. Gah. And says Derek Harper, it looked like a choke, it smelled like a choke, and it felt like a...
You have to finish basketball games in this league. You can't take anything for granted.
Peace, family. This your brother, Mr. Holipsism. I know it's been a while since I did a video, but like I said, it's like I'm at the point now where it's just copy and paste. It's like if you can't say anything new and you keep repeating the same things, why are you doing videos? You know what I'm saying? It's like, why do I have to keep producing content on a daily basis or weekly basis if I'm saying the same damn thing? We already know what we got to do. We just got to make the decision that we want to do it. But I did want to talk about something that I thought was relevant. The title of this video is Militant Integrationists and Black Power American Choke Artists. And I used the Knicks against the Pacers, and when Reggie Miller scored like, you know, some crazy amount of points in 8 seconds, and Greg Anthony fumbled the ball out of bounds and they lost. I know it's an old reference. I could have used something like the Falcons against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. That was a choke. But I really don't give a fuck about the Falcons or the Patriots. So I want to use a reference that's relevant to New York, because that was like a very painful loss to us. It's something that we have not forgotten. So, and it kind of made me respect Reggie Miller, because New York and Boston is similar in the way that, like, if you got the balls to stand up to us, we kind of respect you for that, even if we don't like you. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to get into that. That's another story. But I use that reference of choking because I think it's relevant to what the do it right here people in America, the Black Power Americans and the Militant Integrationists, their ineptitude when it comes to power, when it comes to movements, when it comes to energy, when it comes to taking advantage of the moment, seizing the moment when the moment is right. They fucking choked like Greg Anthony. Because if you go back to after the George Floyd murder by the police, and I'm going to use BLM and Black Lives Matter as sort of like an avatar for all of the injustice that black people suffer in this country. I mean, you can disagree with that, but I mean, for the sake of my argument, I got to use them as an example, because that was the, like I said, the avatar for injustice. I don't want to get into the minutia of Black Lives Matter. That's besides the point. It's irrelevant to the point that I'm making. But I used them to show that they had a lot of support. There was a lot of support for Black Lives Matter and police brutality and injustice against black folks. It was damn near like 80, and in some polls 90%. After George Floyd, the Militant Integrationists, Black Power American, We Can Do It Right Here movement had the majority of Americans on their side. Now, why do I say they choked? They choked because they didn't know what to do with it. And they squandered all of that goodwill and basically dribbled the ball out of bounds just like Greg Anthony did. So let me give you the description of the show. I said, militant integrationists and Black Power Americans had their chance to bust a grape in America after the George Floyd police brutality murder, and a decent chance to put their so-called reparations issue on the table, but they blew it. Because of their collective incompetence, a lack of unified vision and purpose for our people, they shit the bed and wasted the energy, goodwill, sympathy, and empathy they gathered from Americans and the entire world over police brutality and a universally accepted unjust death of George Floyd. Instead, they squandered it and invested in old Golden Girls sitcom episodes, John Wayne Playboy interviews, Confederate flags and statues, Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, and miscellaneous woke neoliberal identity politic bullshit. They collectively fell down and fumbled the ball out of bounds as the time ran out, like Greg Anthony did against the Pacers when the Knicks played them in Madison Square Garden. And I'm here to clown them. And if you check the description, I have a link. The article is support for Black Lives Matter surged during protests, but is waning among white Americans. And then I have the actual Reggie Miller scores 8 points in 9 seconds versus the Knicks in the 1995 playoff game. So, what could they have done if they had an end game? Well, first, and I'm not even going to approach it from the LIN perspective. Let me approach it from the do it right here perspective. It would have been the perfect opportunity to put reparations on the table. If that's your go-to issue, if that's the ultimate, the height of black activism is screaming reparations, which I totally disagree with. It's not that I'm against reparations, but I just think that the niggas who scream that shit is phony as hell, and they don't know what the fuck they talking about, and they don't even know what reparations is in the grand scheme of things. But I'm going to take their position. If you're for reparations, that would have been the perfect time to collectively circle the wagons on that issue. Because the problem is, it was about police brutality. It was about George Floyd injustice. And what y'all did was you dispersed the energy into just every fucking thing that has to do with identity politics. Like it started out with George Floyd and police brutality. And then you disperse the energy. Now you're looking at old Golden Girls sitcom episodes, what was racist in there. John Wayne Playboy interviews from like, I don't know how many years in the 70s or something. He said something racist. Confederate flags and statues, Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, all this other bullshit that had nothing to do with George Floyd, to the point where the people that supported you started waning off because they're like, well, what the fuck is this actually about? What is this about? We just gonna go some blanket shit like every time we see, we're gonna correct racism in America? That's a big fucking blanket. Had you just been focused on one issue, then you could have pulled that goodwill toward that issue and you could have actually got something done. It could have at least put a spotlight on it and moved the issue further. But did you concentrate on reparations? No. You concentrated on all this bullshit. Listening to these woke neoliberals, stupid ass black people who support the Democratic Party and identity politics and all that bullshit, and who are not nationalists. Now, let's say nationalists were in control of the mic. Let's just say. You know what we would have did? We would have put the issue of a nation state on the table. Say, listen, it's obvious that we're second and third class citizens. It's obvious that we're getting killed, with impunity here in America by police. Nobody suffers any penalties. As a matter of fact, they gain by killing us. The guy who killed Michael Brown, I think he's a millionaire from his GoFundMe. So you have incentive to kill us. We're second, third class, fourth class, whatever you want to call it, citizens. That would have been the perfect time to put the whole issue of a nation state. Say, listen, if America really wants to make this shit right, then we need to invest in a nation state on the continent. And lately I've been, listening to our brothers from the BAIO. And I wasn't really about Liberia and Sierra Leone. I don't know why, but I guess I just had so much negative connotations toward it because of what happened during the coup and all that stuff that I didn't really put it on the radar in terms of places that I was looking to as possible locations for a nation state. But to be honest with you, it makes perfect sense. And I don't want to take the video in that direction, but I'm just saying, I'm starting to relook my views on Liberia and Sierra Leone. But to get back to the point is we would have had a nation state on the docket. We would have said, listen, America is not doing anything for us that we need done. So you don't like us, you show that you hate us, you kill us, you don't give us the first class citizenship in America. So then fuck it. Let's do what the Jews did. The Jews had their nation state in Israel. We want our nation state on the continent. And all of our energy would have been focused on that. That would have been the narrative. That would have been the discussion. That's the singular focus that we would have done. And that way you could take that goodwill and transfer it to that. Because who's going to argue with that? If you present it that way, who's going to argue with that? I mean, we could give you a laundry list of reasons and all of the injustices and bullshit that we go through in this country. Who's going to argue with us having a nation state outside of this country? And especially if you explain it right. It's not about upending 50 million black people and taking them over to the continent and everybody leaves America. That's not what a nation state is about. It's about a base of operations. We need a base of operations off the shores of America, out of their jurisdiction, where we can control the socioeconomic and political context that we exist in. It's that simple. And the Black Power Americans and the Militant Integrationists choked. Because you had goodwill, you had empathy, you had sympathy, you had energy, and you had allies. You had people that were sympathetic to your cause. And then you muddied the waters on what your cause actually was. And then everybody just drifted away. So now when you talk about police brutality and Black Lives Matter and all that other stuff, the polling is very low. It went from about 80, 90 to now 0 to 10. And why did it do that? Because you got incompetent black talking heads who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't have a vision for the future. They don't have any end game for our people. They're basically flying by the seat of their pants, attaching themselves to every fucking thing. Like white supremacy. Okay. White supremacy is never going to be out of America. It's never going to be where America is not white supremacist. So if your goal is to stop white supremacy in America, you're a fucking idiot. Instead of trying to stop white supremacy in America, use that goodwill that you garnered and focus that toward empowerment, social, economic, and political empowerment for your people. But because you didn't do that, you lost the energy. You lost the empathy. You lost the sympathy because you don't have a fucking focused message. Guess who does? Black nationalists and African-centered progressives have one. The focused message is land, infrastructure, nationhood. That's our focused message. Total social, economic, and political control over a piece of territory. That's the focus. So you niggas ain't holding it right. It's like you like a dude with a badass chick and you don't know what to do with it. That chick gonna get taken from you. And to put it, in modern terms, Black African nationalists and African-centered progressives, we're the Mandalorian and you guys are baby Grogu. You're scared. And what are we doing? We doing like, like a good father does. We're telling you, don't be afraid. And we'll see. We'll see if you actually listen. Because if you want to have power, then you can't be afraid. And you got niggas that's so scared that they feel they're going to get in trouble by saying that they want power for their people. Listen, at some point, you got to get some balls. At some point, you got to be a man and you got to be a woman and you got to stand on your square. If somebody came to you and said, I'm offended by you being a man. I don't want you standing up pissing. I want you sitting down on the toilet. What you going to do? You're going to sit down because you don't want to piss them off? Or you going to say, fuck you and do what you got to do? So that's all I want to say. I just wanted to reemphasize the fact that these dudes they don't know what they're doing. They're incompetent. These militant integrationists and these Black Power Americans, they don't know what they're doing. They're just angry at the white man. And whenever they have a movement going, it all gets directed back to white supremacy and their anger at the white people. And they want to show white people what time it is. And they want to make white people feel guilty or feel bad. Black nationalists and African-centered progressives don't give a shit about that. We don't care how white people feel or think. What we care about is land, infrastructure, and nationhood. And anybody's down with that, go to baioafricstan.org, sign up, get around people of like mind, and leave these incompetent fucks to their own devices, because you're never going to win. Just like the Knicks, you're never going to win because the Knicks have ownership that don't want them to win. So how are you going to win when the people that own you don't want you to win? They use you as a tax write-off. And it's the same thing with the people here, the Black Power Americans and the militant integrationists in America. They don't give a shit about black people. All they care about is black people's ability to empower them and enrich them by them telling you what the problem is, by them analyzing our ass kickings and breaking it down to show you how the foot got up your ass and then holding their hand out for money because they were able to explain it to you. If you want to break the cycle, baioafricstan.org. And that's all I got to say about that. Holla at you good people later. Peace.
All right, pal. It's time to go. Don't be afraid.
You can't compare to the status right here. Legendary worldwide, we can battle right here. Listen, Junior, I'ma tear back your wig. This ain't TV, but I'll show you what a fear factor is. Stop grilling me, and all that fronting is killing me. You leave me no choice but to hurt your feelings, G.
About to slap rappers around and improve the game. What?